Welcome to Leigh Dickey TV. Hit subscribe to follow along with the fun. Now let's get on to today's video. My thoughts and a commentary and a review of the debut of AEW Rampage. Next. Alright, so the debut of AEW Rampage. Now Dynamite has a TV deal up here in Canada, and it airs on TSN2, I think, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. When it comes to Rampage, I don't know what that means. I've read a couple articles that Fight TV is going to have the international broadcast rights as I live up in Canada. And so it might be on Fight TV. I've heard that TSN owns, or at least holds, the Canadian broadcast rights for AEW, but I've also read that if they carry Rampage, it's going to be some sort of app exclusive. No word on whether or not it's going to air on over-the-air TV such as TSN. I know that AEW in the States airs on TNT and is soon to move to TBS in 2022. But what that means for the future of Rampage up here in Canada, I don't know. So apparently Rampage is going to be a 1-hour program on Friday nights, airing on TNT in the States, and who knows what the situation is up here in Canada in terms of their broadcast rights and what, who's carrying what. I know that, as I said previously, Dynamite, AEW's Canadian broadcast rights are held by TSN, and they air Dynamite on Wednesday nights, but there are several ways that Rampage could air, of course, Fight TV, the app could air, well, probably will air Rampage in international markets, and I've read that Rampage could be an app exclusive thing for TSN. Who knows? I'm not sure, but only time will tell. So I did see the debut episode this morning because I managed to get a hold of it, and they brought out the heavy hitters for this debut episode. It was intense all the way through. It was a 1-hour show, 50 minutes with commercials. The one thing I will say, I don't like picture-in-picture. The picture-in-picture to me distracts from what I'm trying to watch. If I'm trying to watch Rampage or Dynamite or any other program, wrestling program, that does this whole picture-in-picture with commercial thing, it just distracts me from what I want to watch. I know that commercials that's how networks pay the bills and how you keep the lights on and the program on the air. But I just think that picture-in-picture is just one of those things that bugs me slightly. It irks me because I don't want to hear the audio from the commercial if I'm watching a wrestling show or anything else. I want to hear the audio from the wrestling show or whatever else I happen to be watching. But I understand that, commercial time, people pay for that, and that's how they keep the lights on and pay the bills and what have you. So I'm not against that. Plus, I have a television background, so I understand, okay? It still doesn't mean I have to like it, right? So AEW brought out the heavy hitters for this debut of Rampage. Now, to kick off the show, you had Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega for the Impact World title. Personally, I think Impact needs to pick one World Championship. I mean, that thought and the visual of seeing Kenny Omega with all the gold, all the belts, great, a la Ultimo Dragon from 1990s WCW. That's cool. Sure, you want to bring that back. But I think Impact needs to pick one world title and go with that. They still have the heavyweight championship that is branded TNA. They are no longer TNA per se. Yes, they are the former TNA. They're branded as Impact all around. So pick one world championship. Granted, to see Christian Cage beat Kenny Omega he had the kill switch, the Impaler reverse DDT on the chair, 1, 2, 3. It was the entire show was intense. The matches, all the segments and what have you. It was intense all the way through. So Christian Cage is the new Impact World Champion, and of course AEW and Impact have that working relationship, so I suppose Christian Cage is going to go back and forth between both promotions. Still, cool to see, Kenny Omega, Christian Cage kick off the show, and Christian Cage become the new Impact World Champion with that kill switch / Impaler reverse DDT on the steel chair. Pins, 1, 2, 3, new Impact World Champion. There were 4 people on commentary for the debut of Rampage. You had Chris Jericho, Excalibur, Mark Henry, and Taz. To be quite honest with you, I'm not a fan of more than 2 people in the commentary booth. Granted, I'm not Tony Khan or anybody in the Khan family, associated and or like that has to do anything with AEW. Like, I don't make the final say. I'm just a fan. But I just don't think that having 4 people in the commentary booth is, the best idea, right? Yes, you have Taz, you have Excalibur. Jericho was great when he, was on commentary last year during the whole global issue when this whole thing kicked off. But to have that many people trying to get, say, a word in, I think is a bit much, and I just don't think you need 4 commentators in the commentary booth for an entire show. Again, this is just my opinion. I mean, they're all great commentators, but I don't think you need that many people trying to talk on top of one another through an entire 1-hour show. I think that might be, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many voices trying to be heard, and it might just be a bit much. I mean, it's just my opinion. I'd prefer, let's have 2 people, like Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross, or like Tony Schiavone and Mike Tenay. Or give me, something like that. Mike Tenay, Don West. Give me like a 2-man team. I mean, the only 3-man team that I legitimately did like was Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, and you had Mike Tenay back in WCW back in the day. Like, very rarely will I like a 3-man commentary booth. Give me like 2 people, and away you go. You've like Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura from back in the day. Like, those were great 2-man people, or like Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, 2-man teams or 2-people teams. It doesn't even have to be 2 men, 2 women. It doesn't matter. Just give me 2 people in a commentary booth. To have like 4 people, 3 or more is too much, in my opinion. Okay, I know that's sort of like the norm if you look at, say, the WWE, because they have 3-people teams all the time. They're everywhere, right? So it's very rare to see 2-man teams or 2-person teams in the commentary booth. I know you have Pat McAfee and Michael Cole on SmackDown, but I think there's still a 3-person team on Raw, and NXT's got a 3-person team. So like 3 or more is pretty much the norm now. I just think we need to go back to 2. Like, I love Mark Henry, Chris Jericho, Taz, and Excalibur. Still not my favorite commentator, but that's why they pay him what they pay him, I'm sure, because he's good at his job. So just to have that many people on a commentary table in the commentary booth is a bit much for me. The next match, you have Miro, the former Rusev, against Fuego del Sol. If Fuego del Sol would have won, he would have gotten a full-time AEW contract. Fuego del Sol didn't win. He was submitted by Miro with this like modified camel clutch crossface chicken wing sort of thing, which was one of the coolest submissions I think I've ever seen, like, ever. It was insane. It was amazing. And I love to see that. Like, there was just, I don't know. I've never seen him apply that before, because as I said at the beginning, I'm not really, like, I don't watch AEW weekly, so I've never really seen him apply it. But to see that sort of modified camel clutch crossface chicken wing sort of thing, to see Fuego del Sol submit, like, that is just, it was intense, and well, that's the character of Miro, right? Like, he portrays this intense sort of tank, if you will, of a person, of a man, like the TNT champion, right? And on a side note, I think that they need to redesign the design, like, just redesign the TNT championship. It just seems a bit plain to me. White strap, and it's just a circular sort of main faceplate that says TNT across the front. Like, you maybe think about redesigning the championship itself. Like, I'm not a big fan of, say, having like white leather strapped championships at all. Give me like a straight, like, give me a black sort of leather strap with the title embroidered design on the front, like the main face plates, the side plates, and what have you. But of course, Fuego del Sol lost. That means he doesn't get an AEW full-time contract. Cue music. Out comes Sammy Guevara with Tony Khan. Tony Khan hands him a mic. And Sammy Guevara comes out holding a clipboard. Look, Fuego del Sol, this is what Guevara is saying. you're 1 in 50, but that doesn't matter. These people love you, and that means that Fuego del Sol is all elite. So basically, everybody goes home happy. Fuego del Sol has a full-time AEW contract, signs it, yada, yada, yada. Now, here's my thing. Like, if you were planning on keeping him around anyway, but I guess for the sake of story, they felt like they had to do that, but why not just, you could give him a shot at the TNT Championship, right? Why have this whole, like, he's got to win to get an AEW full-time contract when you're planning on keeping him around anyway? I don't know. I didn't get it, but, cool. Fuego del Sol, full-time AEW contract. He's signed. It's fine. You're going to keep him around. Great. Sure. I just think, Miro had nothing to lose in that match. Whether he lost or not, it probably wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Sure, but at the end of it, you had Guevara come out at the end and present Del Sol with his full-time AEW contract. So it just kind of seemed like a red herring to me. But, it's wrestling. It doesn't have to make sense. Much like movies, they don't have to make sense. It's a movie, or this is wrestling. It's strictly entertainment. Like, yes, it's professional wrestling, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment as well. The last match for Rampage on the debut, you have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Red Velvet. Hard-hitting, intense match, and a lot of, technical, sort of mat-based, and at the end of it, Red Velvet was submitted by Britt Baker. And of course, because Britt Baker is from Pittsburgh, she is favored. I mean, it's just huge pop for Britt Baker when she came out for the main event. And it's proper main event, right? Like, you should have, say, the ladies main event, the shows, the pay-per-views. Like, why wouldn't you? It's perfect. And it was the perfect main event, right? It was just tons of going back and forth, a lot of intensity, and at the end of it all, Britt Baker submits Red Velvet and wins. Of course, there's interference at the end, and then the show goes off the air. But I really did like the debut of Rampage. Like, I'm for not really watching AEW all that much. I mean, I am a fan of wrestling and what have you, but I don't necessarily watch Rampage Dynamite every week. So, to see the debut of Rampage, that was cool. Christian Cage wins the Impact World title. Miro cross-face chicken wing sort of camel clutch thing out of a Samoan drop, facing the hard cam. That was something to get Fuego del Sol to submit, and then like a submission victory by Britt Baker over Red Velvet, and then some interference to sort of, end the show and go off the air. Like, it was intense all the way around for a 1-hour show. It was like, just here's the starter pistol, bang, and they were off to the races, and it was just intense. It kept you watching, it kept you entertained. I can't knock the debut of Rampage at all. Like, there were some spots in the Christian Cage Kenny Omega match. There was a sunset flip powerbomb by Cage onto Omega, a frog splash from Cage onto Omega, and again, that sort of kill switch or impaler reverse DDT onto the steel chair by Cage to win the Impact World title. I was like, holy cow, I was hooked, right? And I've been watching wrestling a long time. So then you had, Miro versus Fuego del Sol, cross-face chicken wing out of the camel clutch from a Samoan drop, facing the hard camera. And of course, like, Britt Baker versus Red Velvet. Like, it was just a perfect show all around. It was great, to be honest with you. And it just, I can't knock it. For a debut show, for a brand new, like, AEW product, they have Dark Elevation, they have Dark, which are both, like, YouTube exclusives, and you have Dynamite. But for another sort of traditional television show, in the wrestling category, this was perfect. I can't knock it at all. But there are my thoughts on the debut of AEW Rampage. Of course, please do subscribe to Leigh Dickey TV for these weekly wrestling videos. You can catch the audio version of this episode on Pinfall, a Pro Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Leigh Dickey TV. Follow along on social media, links in the description. Leave us a 5-star rating and review too, as well, if you would please. And thank you, but there are my thoughts on AEW Rampage, the debut episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please do take care, and we will talk to you later. All right, Leigh Dickey signing off. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to Leigh Dickey TV. New episodes are available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe to follow along with the fun.